Hi, Dr. Chris Health First. Today I'm going to do a video on who is God, what is God, and how it relates to the elites and the world and what's going on today. In subsequent videos, myself and my wife, Dr. Suzanne, say hi back there.
Hi.
We will go into some further analysis on how these world elites actually practice demonic sacrificial rituals and how they keep their bloodlines strong. But for purpose of this video, I'm going to keep it simple and talk about God, who is he, what is he, and how the elites don't really worship him, and how is that affecting our lives today. All right, so what is actually God? God is the highest energy, which means he beat out everybody else for the number one spot. Now I'm going to get back to that, just keep that on the side for a second. Who is he? God is the Father, he is the Creator, he is the Supreme Being. That is it. That is God. So which means, as I said before, he is supreme. That means he beat all these other energies competing for that spot. What happened to these other energies? Well, some got vaporized. Others were banished or pushed or scattered to various other planets. All right, giving God the number one spot. Our God, our Father. So in Earth over here, well, we have all the dimensions, from dimension 1 up to dimension 12. All right, so the God is the highest. So God the Father, the Creator, the Supreme Being, is dimension 12. That means there is nothing above God. That is it. Everything else is below the 12th dimension, serving the Father, serving God. For argument's sake, it's a fact, humans, you are all in the third dimension, okay? So people, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What happens in that very space right there? That's what you call the interdimensional beings would be in those spaces. Okay, now they vary, depending on their strength, depending on what dimension they're actually in, how powerful they are. So 4 through 11, none are in the 12th because that is God, he is supreme. These interdimensional beings, basically, what I like to say, can be basically broken down into two categories. You have your indigenous and your non-indigenous. Indigenous meaning, from Earth, and non-indigenous from outside Earth. So let's talk about the indigenous interdimensional beings. All right? Good example would be like Lucifer, your Satan, fallen angels, fallen archangels. So they would be your indigenous interdimensional beings. Now you have your non-indigenous interdimensional beings. Like I said, those weren't from the other planets. So therefore extraterrestrial, they kind of came here. A great example of that would be the Anunnaki. So Anunnaki would be an example of, a non-indigenous interdimensional being. All right, now make no mistake, okay, these indigenous or non-indigenous interdimensional being, they're all demons. Plain and simple, all right, they're demons. Now these, and I'm going to explain that. So these, really simply for you. So these interdimensional beings, all right, basically they're here. So these beings are what ancient man, ancient society, ancient cultures, not all, but a lot of them worship these interdimensional beings, these demons, all right? But a correct term I like to more redeem is actually the anti-God. And really, let me be clear when I say that. Some people say, he's Antichrist. I am not saying Antichrist in any stretch of the imagination. I am purposely saying anti-God. They are the opposite of God. They are the antithesis of God. Okay, so therefore the anti-God. So a lot of these ancient societies worship these anti-gods, which they call them gods or deities, if you will. Nevertheless, they're demons, anti-gods. This is who and what they worshipped. These interdimensional beings, they want power, and they lust for power, they lust for control. And how do they get that? Primarily through fear. You don't do this, fear. Everything is fear-based. You can see a lot of that. If you just don't have to look too far in history, you have the Mesoamerica and ancient Egypt. Very big sacrificial cultures that sacrifice for their gods, for their deities. And that's their due. You can look back, these cultures even went back as far as to sacrifice humans. Human sacrifice, the ultimate demonic behavior for power. For lust of power, lust for control. And that's what these interdimensional beings want. They want that. They want you to sacrifice. All right? So that's what these ancient cultures did. Okay, now you say, why am I bringing that now? Well, obviously, That never stopped. These bloodlines through the years, i.e. our government in this country, like Trump's, the royal family, Davos, and various of the world leaders to this day still practice these ritualistic demonic events that they do to this day. And people say, well, how can that be? You know, Trump says God. Yeah, not really. If you say God, it's the supreme being, the creator, and the father. It never really says that. That is God. That is a true God. You see, unless you say the creator, the supreme being, you know, or the father, you're not meaning the true God. So these people like Trump, the royal family, Davos, and other elites, they're purposely tricking you. They're saying God, but they're worshiping their God. They're not worshiping the real God, the Father, the supreme being, the creator. They're worshiping their interdimensional beings, their deities, their anti-gods, and they're doing it on purpose. They're smiting you. They're smiting God because they lust for power and they lust for control. And yes, they do believe, and I will get in very good detail with my wife, Doc Suzanne, how they practice these rituals where they're actually sacrificing. That's how the royal family and the Trumps and Davos, how do you think they keep their bloodline strong? They believe in sacrifice. They conjure these teams, which get a lot more detail in the videos, and how they summon them and they communicate with them to keep their bloodline strong. Why do that? Because just like interdimensional beings, these families pray, they lust for power and control. So they work together. But what they really don't understand is that these interdimensional beings are actually considered of a higher vibration, a higher level than them, you know, a higher dimension. They're controlling them. That's how stupid they are, actually. So the Trumps and the Davos and the royal family, they're still actually being controlled by interdimensional beings. Make no mistake about that. So all you can all throw out, the deep state, the shadow government, this and that is actually the interdimensional beings. That is what it is. They're controlling this. Now, they do have a main goal, which is elites. Even though interdimensional beings control elites, the main goal here is to oust God, to kill God, to push them away, so they can make Earth, you know, just one big demonic happy playground and do what they want and just sacrifice as they choose. And how do I know this, basically? Well, if you watch previous videos about how I'm clairvoyant, how I'm with you, how God does give me downloads, and, you know, I do have a bloodline where I have various elites still come in, you know, because of my bloodline, and they actually confirm and tell me stories how our own government, the royal family, how Davos actually does ritualistic human sacrifice for behavior. I know for a fact, I've been told that a lot of the missing persons in Arizona, go missing for ritualistic human sacrificing for power. You know, you got what? The Mormons out here, the mafia out here, Trump's friends with them, the royal family, the Davos, they all practice these human sacrifice behavior for power. And I've been told that to my face as well. Not only is it God tell, I'm told by people come in and they say that. And that's what happens here in this country. It happens in the world. I'm just sharing that with all of you today. Believe it. Don't believe it. It is the truth. And with God and through God, the truth will always prevail. I'm Dr. Chris. Come check our website at healthfirstasy.com or our YouTube channel at Quest for Knowledge 33. Have a wonderful day.